and you're welcome to Business Review on Trust TV, where we take an analytical look at business and economic developments that happened during the week and how these developments affect Nigeria's economy and the average Nigerian. My name is Chamun Dabeng, and I'll be your host. Let's talk numbers. We're starting off with the stock market. The All-Share Index ASI and market capitalization of the Nigerian Exchange Limited NGX, which entered the week under review at 50,370.25 points and 27.162 trillion naira respectively, closed at 50,722.33 points and 27.358 trillion naira respectively. The week ended Friday, August 5th, with the Nigerian stock market ending in the black, up 0.7% despite 3 days of losses compared to 2 days of gains. Consumer goods, banking, and oil and gas companies were the main drivers of investors' gain in the previous trading week, while industrial and insurance firms were also on the market. Despite the recent pressure put on sell side of the Nigerian bourse by an increase in the benchmark interest rates, investors continued to be optimistic about value counters as they weather the storm of a harsh operating environment while producing outstanding half-year earnings. In total, there were 4,091 deals with a volume of 148.81 million, valued at 1.925 billion naira. The top three gainers for the week were Eterna, Multiverse, and Japal Gold, and they were up by 10, 9.94 and 9.68% respectively. And the top losers were Unilever, Skyway Aviation, and Guinness, and they were down by 10, 8.76 and 8.29% respectively. Now, more to come after the break. You're welcome back to Business Review on Trust TV. And once again, my name is Chamun Dabeng. I'm joined here in the studio by economist Dr. Emeka Okengo. You're welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here.
Great to have you here. So this week, the Organization of Petroleum Producing countries, increased Nigeria's quota by 100,000 barrels. Now it's taking it up to 1.83 million barrels per day. Now, looking at Nigeria's history and our inability to meet up to these quotas, these demands that are coming from OPEC, how do you think this is going to affect the country? Does it have an actual impact on the nation economically?
Well, it should have been good news, more so that we've established the MPDC that's supposed to be a local and indigenous oil producing company. But then I don't think it's very cheering news, because we have not even been able to meet the other demands. I think about 1.7 million or something. We haven't met it. And we're still oscillating between 1.2, 1.3. And even at that, we're not even able to maximize even that output. Even the ones we're producing, a lot of it is also lost, to oil theft. So it's a myriad of issues. Are we increasing to those who are doing what they call moonlighting, which is not stealing it, or have we put in the proper infrastructure to be able to make certain that every drop of oil that is produced, like it happens in most other climes, there's this security software they call the Integrity Platini that allows you to, have a bird's eye view, real-time view on your production facilities. Do we have that kind of a thing? Have we been able to reduce incidences of wellhead pilfering and then, pipeline vandalization? So these are the issues. It should be cheering news, considering that there are gaps in now for every little forex we can get. But I don't know.
All right, so let's take a look at this interview with energy expert Yabagi Sani. In recent times, Africa's largest oil producer has not done so well in meeting up with its numbers. So how will the nation meet up with this increase? Energy crude oil expert Yabagi Sani gives his insights.
The increase by OPEC is supposed to be a cheering news, for a country that is managing its resources well, but that cannot be said about Nigeria. The official information from government is that we are losing about $5 point something billion every year. That is the official figure from NITI, about 4 point something NITI says. Every year we are reporting this. And very recently, information I think from official quarters also says that we lost 80% of our revenue to oil theft, to crude oil theft.
The country has been patiently waiting for the completion of the Dangote refinery, which is said to possess the capacity to process about 650,000 barrels of crude oil per day. But there are fears that the new refinery will fall prey to oil theft, vandalism, insecurity, and policies that have hindered existing refineries from reaching their full potentials.
If you remove those clauses, those constitutional provisions that are fueling corruption, then it will work. Because if you deregulate the sector, where then Mr. Dangote now will come and then, of course, buy his crude oil, market price, sell his petroleum products, market price, and your money will not be taken to pay Mr. Dangote. Care is not taken, they will even do more damage to you. They will steal more, because these are Nigerians like yourselves, and they will feel comfortable talking to each other. You don't know what they are doing, because the company is there for profit making, isn't it? Unfortunately, this is a company that is also a Nigerian company, and we know what happens in Nigeria. They can tell you they are operating international best practice, yes, but I mean, it's okay. It's a good move. More people will be employed. That's for sure, because it's institutionalized in your constitution.
All right, so he has very similar views to what you had already said. It's supposed to be cheering news for the country, but for a country that has been unable to meet up to those quotas, is it really new to them? Is it something special for the country as, as an economy? Now, we did talk about the Dangote refinery that is expected to come up in 2023. Now, how much of a difference do you feel like this is actually going to make when it comes to the sector?
Well, I think the Dangote refinery will make the products more available locally, vis-a-vis ex-depot. Now, but that doesn't also solve the problem, because you also need to truck these commodities all across the length and breadth of the 927 kilometers that constitute Nigeria, where people live. And if you look at the only means of transportation we have now, which is the maximum of the 33,000 liter trailers, and then you juxtapose that against the rising banditry, insurrections, bad roads, and all that. Now, getting those things to move, and then you are looking at it purely now as a private sector initiative, where the market forces now determine, the values or costs. You're going to be finding that in some parts of Nigeria, the fuel will be unaffordable because of just the cost of trucking it, from point A to point B. More so that you now also have this challenge that hasn't been resolved on your trunks. Okay, so using the pipes to do that mightn't be the way out. So it's a vicious circle really that needs to be broken. Well, it's going to be cheering news because at least you will not have to start importing this fuel. But remember that it's actually not even the importation cost that is the issue. It is the landing, it is the internal trucking, that is actually where you will start seeing these add-ons happening. So if you remove under recovery, which is what is called now, and then you leave it to the open market, you won't have solved the problem.
All right, does our consistent inability to meet up with these quotas, does it, give us a bad rap when it comes to OPEC itself or our stance?
No, it doesn't. You see, what OPEC does is OPEC is a committee of nations that have agreed, to look at market forces and against, demand and supply, allocate to each country what it needs. OPEC is not, buying. OPEC is like a regulator that says you can't exceed this so that, you don't create upsets in the market. So you're not able to make it. It's actually your ceiling. You produce a barrel, not a problem, but you're allowed to produce up to the 1.8 million barrels. So
and nothing more.
It's neither here nor there. It doesn't change anything.
All right, so some of the issues that the sector itself is facing, which you rightly brought up, is the issue of oil theft and vandalism itself. Now, are there any other factors that need to be looked into, maybe an oversight as far as, holding back the sector?
Well, again, production costs, because in the oil sector, you have what you call the rig count. So it's all about the rig and then who manages the rig. And it's all about localizing your technologies to be able to produce your oil. As long as you're depending on foreign equipment, foreign technology, foreign personnel, to produce, you pay in foreign currency. Okay, so that's one very major factor. Again, storage. Okay, it's not enough for you to find oil. You need to also have that oil in storage. Okay, and again, it's not even enough for you to have storage. You need to also be able to move that oil from storage to market. And then it's not even enough for you to have markets. You must have your market that is localized to you, which is what they call the spot markets. Now, right now, I don't think Nigeria has been able to establish any spot markets. We're still taking these products to the Togo Triangle. I don't think we'll have, this infrastructure to be able to haul it, to keep it even in storage. Okay, the Escravos, I don't know how functional it is now, the Escravos storage. Now, again, we don't even have the vessels, okay, that can now take it from that storage point to, where you can be able to, create your own local market here. So these are all the myriad of issues, really.
All right, so I would like to explore some of the policies when it comes to the challenges that the sector itself or production is facing itself. Now, we have the Petroleum Industry Act that came out in 2021. So far, have there actually been any changes that you've seen in the sector itself? Is it too early to tell? What are your thoughts?
Too early to tell, but again, with at least the NNPC Limited coming on board now, okay, what they need to do is to start struggling with the KAMA provisions. Some people have gone to court to say this is wrong. Okay, you're not supposed to be putting public officers in a private company. So these guys need to leave. So when they finish with this legal fireworks and all that, the NNPC Limited will take a better shape. Okay, then of course there are the issues of the cash calls. It is being said that the NNPC has no debts. I want to wonder what has happened to the over 5 billion or so that had accumulated as a commitment, in the days of NNPC being the interface between the marketers and the government, and then
they're bridging
something. So now, the moment all that is done, and then you have the governance structures, administrative structures, legal structures, debts, all sorted out and flowing. But I think that the Petroleum Industry Act is a big deal. It's really, really a big deal with all these faults. I mean, there's no perfect document and there's no perfect program.
Of course.
The only thing that is perfect is God the Almighty, but it's going to be work in progress. I think in the years to come, if we have proper, corporate governance structures, instituted, it's going to help.
Well, as far as NNPCL now, some of the questions that have been, surrounding the change from NNPC to NNPCL is pretty much around the restructuring of the, should I say, company now. Is this going to be able to provide some level of transparency, some level of accountability as far as the deeds of NNPCL are concerned, and especially answering Nigerians on these questions?
So that's what I'm saying. That some people are saying, old wine, same wine in new skin. Okay. Now, well, time will tell. What's important is that it is no longer shrouded. Okay. Now, NNPC is now governed by the provisions of KAMA. Okay, the Company and Allied Matters Act. And the moment it simply means that it's subject to all manners of scrutiny. Okay, corporate scrutiny, investor scrutiny. You can ask questions hitherto you were not able to ask before. Just like people have started asking questions. Why is Male Kyari a public officer or is he a private person? If he is, did he resign? Did he retire? And all that. Now, these are questions that over time will now shape how the industry. I mean, what I think has happened is that it's now been put on the pedestal where transparency can be argued, where transparency can be enforced or demanded, if you may. Okay, so it's all good. All right, nothing. We don't expect to build. Like they say, you don't build a castle in a day. You just take it, one stone on top of the other, and then we'll get there. So I think it's work in progress, really.
All right. Like you said, it's a work in progress. I think with time, we will get to see some of the results that are coming in from the PIA and the new policies that are being put out there. But anyway, we do need to still discuss the issue of vandalism and oil theft. Of course, the PIA did bring in some solutions as far as taking care of those issues and, policies around around the oil-producing states. But what really needs to be done to reduce the issue of oil theft, the issue of vandalism, the issue of, kidnapping when it comes to even the staffs of these oil companies?
It's very simple, host community, ownership of the process. The last administration had tried to do it by getting the host communities to be the ones to start monitoring and supervising the oversight of the pipelines. Okay, a lot of security companies owned by locals were established and then contracts were given. But I think the moment you make that host community an integral participant, and then they see what they can be able to get out of it, it becomes very simple. The moment you own something, you don't want to destroy it. Okay, you own it transparently. People see that really everybody is getting something out of this.
It's an open book.
Yes, you open it up and people are able to see what can come to the community, okay, what the community should do with what comes to it based on the needs of that community. So you now have this bottom-up planning, bottom-up budgeting, bottom-up programming. It will help a lot. But when you now say, okay, this is yours, it's like, I don't know if, when you were growing up, if you've ever had the misfortune of sharing meat with your elder brothers or sisters. And then,
they can move faster than you.
No, it's not. They just give you one little piece and then they say, you're the youngest, you take this. Most aggressive younger brothers and sisters could actually kick the plate. You understand? And which is what is happening here. So, but if you get that kid sister to say, okay, you be the one to do this sharing. And then, but understanding that this, everybody needs to get something. So I think the major problem we've had is that we've not incorporated, okay, the host communities. And then when we're talking about host communities here, you might be surprised that communities in Jos could even be host communities. Okay, why would they be? Because the pipelines that are passing through that, they're part of this integral thing. So you will now begin to now share responsibilities on very clearly understood rules of engagement. Okay, so everybody now has, a part and a bit to play at that level of what are you hosting? Are you hosting pipeline? Are you hosting wellhead? Are you hosting oil field? Are you hosting refinery? Are you hosting depot? Are you hosting this? And then everybody understands, the full gamut. And I think it creates some kind of social inclusion. Okay, so it's no longer, because that happens because we haven't become that single unit we should be. We haven't been able to create that social cohesion that makes us now, want to learn from each other based on our cultural values and our systems, which was what it used to be in those days. I mean, when we were growing up, it was such fun, for you to have an Igbo friend and tell your mom or your dad, I just met a friend of mine, she's from Plateau, she's from this. And way back, we used to visit. And we're building this, friendship. The moment you introduce that into every other thing you do, living becomes less complex, you remove doubt and suspicion, and we can actually build this country that we should really be building with our level of exposure. For
a lot of the restructurings and changes that are being made within Nigeria, whether politically, economically, one of the biggest questions that does come out a lot of the times is for who? How does the Nigerian man benefit from this? And like you said, it's something that you would definitely want to see where there is that sense of unity and that gainership for every Nigerian out there. All right, we'll take a short break, and when we get back, we're going to be taking a look at the jet fuel crisis in Nigeria. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. My name is Chamon Dabeng and you're tuned to Business Review on Trust TV. I'm still here with economist Dr. Emeka Okengwu. Yes, so the issue of Jet A1 fuel has been causing quite a commotion within the aviation sector. Now, due to the cost of the Jet A1 fuel, airlines have been once again forced to raise the airfares to 150,000 naira for just a one-way ticket. Now, the price of jet fuel went from 200 naira per litre to 400 naira per litre to where it is right now, and it's about 750 to 800 naira per litre. What do you think about this situation and the effects that it's going to have on the aviation sector? Remember that a lot of these aviation sectors around the world, not just Nigeria, had the whole pandemic lockdown. They could not function. So many of them are just starting to come out. And even for the Nigerian sector, it started to experience resurgence. But now that this is going on, what does it mean for the aviation sector?
Well, first, I think the major problem is that we are not producing aviation fuel, and that's a shame. Big shame, okay? For a country that started by saying, oh, we're producing 1.7 million liters of crude every day. Aviation fuel is gotten out of crude, okay? Mm-hmm. It simply means that it is because of the failures of our refineries. Now, that's one way to get aviation fuel. Now, another way to get it is from oil seeds or energy seeds. You can actually get aviation fuel. India has flown a jet across the Atlantic using aviation fuel that they made from jatropha oil. And jatropha is a desert grass. Okay, it can grow. We have 12,000 kilometers of land we have lost to desertification that would have grown jatropha without touching any land that is producing our foods. So there's no reason, not one, why we're not producing aviation fuel. But why is aviation fuel expensive? It is expensive because you are buying it in dollar. So it is not a question that the price changed, okay, from 200 or increased from 200. It didn't increase. The price has remained stable against that currency that purchases it. So what has changed is the value of your dollar. It's important you know that. So, and it's not going to come down except the dollar comes down. So what we should be talking about is not how much. And again, the second thing is that what kind of planes do we fly in Nigeria? A lot of these, the farthest place in Nigeria will be an hour, 20 minutes. I don't even know where you fly for more than 1 hour from whatever point you're going to. Okay, from Lagos to Maiduguri will be maybe an hour, 10 minutes or thereabout. Abuja to the east will be 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes. Yeah. Now, but you go to bring these big jets that guzzle so much fuel. Okay, so the choice of the kind of, aircraft you also bring in is another reason why, you need to be, basically what you're doing is that you're paying for the waste. You're paying for the amount of energy you need to lift that aircraft into the air, and then after 20 minutes of flying, you begin to now, bring it down again. You should have just, looked at what you call the hop-on, hop-offs, all right, that can be able to take off and maybe at about an altitude of 20,000 or thereabout. It doesn't need to go much more higher, because the higher you go, the more fuel you burn. This is just the simple, making it simplicity as it were. So it's not going to come down as long as, the price of dollar is not coming down. That's one. And then the demand for aviation travel now, for air travel, has bouilloned with, people being. There's this joke a friend of mine sent to me. He says it's a lot cheaper to fly than to go by road, because he flies, he pays 150,000 naira. He goes by road, he pays 50 million. Now, how does he pay 50 million? He pays 5,000 to go to Jos. He gets kidnapped in Nasarawa. He starts looking for 50 million to get back home. Okay, so it's
again, a security thing.
Yes, again, it falls back to this point of security. I don't see why we should be talking about the cost of jet fuel or the cost of airline travel if we had our rail lines, running. I don't know why. I don't see why. I mean, as a young child from Government College Umuahia, anytime I was visiting my uncle in Kaduna, they just took me, to the train station. I was less than 14. And all my uncle did was to come. I mean, if I was going to Nsukka, my father picked me from the Enugu, station. We were all, that was how we were traveling Nigeria. and it wasn't costing anybody anything. So I think it's all about the absence of a proper national development plan, okay, that is think through, that takes it from the back end, or what you call the A to Z. That's not what we're doing. I mean, we're not looking at planning transportation on an intermodal basis. The day we start intermodaling our transportation systems, I don't see why you shouldn't be able to now link your dirt roads. A lot of us are driving these big Tundrans that people drive in the bushes, outside Nigeria, and they're driving it as big boys here. These are dirt road cars. Okay, they were made for particular,
types of roads.
That's why they call, and you go to buy those tires, they call them dirt road tires. Now, what about our sea route transportation, Chamong? We have a lot of, places you can also go by boat. Lagos, for once, you can transverse, almost half of Lagos, through boat transportation. And if you took off from one end, somebody is in the go-slow for 2 hours and 30 minutes, you're in your destination. Now, it is because you have not been able to link it.
So there is a need to really build up our transportation system within the country, rather than just having the planes. You also have the options of, buses on better roads, let me put it that way, trains and all the rest of them. All right, unfortunately, we do not have enough time to continue with this discussion, and we do have to round up here. But Dr. Emeka, thank you so much for joining us on the show and giving us your insights. To our viewers out there, thank you so much for watching the show today. Please do well to follow us on our social media pages. You can find us on Instagram, on YouTube, and Facebook. Just look us up at Trust TV News. Well, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Please do come back again next week. Let's talk numbers.